Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm stoked you're here. Today, we're diving into a hot topic that every coder wrestles with. Are code comments a necessary evil or a valuable lifeline for communication? I'm the programming professor, and this video's inspired by Chapter 4 of Clean Code by Robert C. Martin, a book that's pure gold for developers. We're going to unpack why comments get flack, spotlight when they shine, and figure out how to use them without trashing your codebase. Whether you're new to coding or a grizzled vet, this'll give you fresh perspective. What were you taught in school about comments? Drop it in the comments below. Code comments, necessary evil or valuable communication. Based on Chapter 4, Comments from Clean Code by Robert C. Martin. Time to lay some philosophical groundwork with two heavy hitters. Robert C. Martin calls comments a necessary evil, arguing that if our languages were expressive enough, or if we were coding wizards, we wouldn't need them much, maybe not at all. Then Brian Kernighan and P.J. Plaffer hit us with "Don't comment bad code, rewrite it," suggesting comments are often just excuses for sloppy work. These quotes are our launchpad. Comments might help, but they're a crutch when code's not pulling its weight. Let's see where this takes us. Here's our roadmap for this video. It's our guide through the comment chaos. We'll kick off with an intro to set the stage, then explore examples of good comments that save the day, followed by bad ones that make you cringe. Next, we'll dive into practical guidelines to keep your comments sharp, and cap it with a summary to tie it all together. This outlines our compass, showing the best and worst of comments, then arming you with tips to master them. Ready to navigate? Let's go. So, what's a comment at its core? Picture it as a little post-it note stuck in your source code, something the compiler or interpreter completely ignores, leaving it just for us humans to decipher. They're there to explain tricky bits, provide context for why something's coded a certain way, or flag key details that might slip by, like a cheat sheet embedded right in the file. Think of comments as a form of live documentation, a way to whisper to your future self or your teammate, "Hey, here's what's going on." But as we'll see, they're not always the heroes we hope they'll be. Let's explore that next. Comments are a double-edged sword. Seriously, they can save you or stab you in the back. On the plus side, they're clutch for clarifying messy logic when the code alone leaves you lost, like a lifeline in a storm of nested loops. But here's the dark side. They can clutter your screen, mislead you if they're out of sync with reality, or turn into cryptic fossils nobody gets anymore. The big question is, can we craft code so intuitive that comments become endangered? It's like wielding a sword. Handle it with skill, and it slices through confusion. Fumble it, and you're bleeding all over your codebase. We're about to see why that balance is so tricky. Why do comments let us down so often? It's a maintenance nightmare. Code changes fast, but comments, they're like that friend who never updates their status, stuck in the past. Martin hammers this home. Only the code is the real deal. Comments are just echoes that can lie when they drift out of date. Take this drifting comment example. A regex for HTTP dates floats aimlessly between unrelated variables. Once it made sense, now it's a ghost haunting the wrong spot. Misplacement like this turns comments into noise, not help, and it's a warning sign we'll see pop up again. But what if we flipped it? Can code tell its own story without comments? Heck yeah, it can. Refactoring is your magic wand here. Turn messy logic into something clean and readable. Good naming, like calling a function cross out multiples, cuts the comment fat, and a structure that flows like a novel ties it all together. In this prime number generator, the code's so expressive with separate functions detailing each step that you don't need a single note. It's like the code's giving you a high five saying, "I've got this, no babysitter needed." What's the real role of comments then? They're not here to sub in for clear code. That's a rookie move. The gold standard is a comment you never have to write because your code's already spilling the tea. Bad comments muddy the waters, misleading or confusing readers, while good code stands tall on its own. Martin's line, "Truth can only be found in one place." The code is a wake-up call. Comments are sidekicks, not the hero. They've got a job, but it's a supporting role, not the star of the show. Here's a classic trap: using comments to patch up bad code, like putting lipstick on a pig. This snippet with a cryptic condition, bitwise flags, and a magic number 65 practically begs for a comment to explain it. But that's just slapping a band-aid on a broken leg. It hides the mess instead of fixing it. You're left wondering what full benefits even means, and the comment's just a flimsy excuse for lazy coding. Now let's fix that disaster. Refactoring is the hero we need. Ditch the comment and rewrite that condition as employee is eligible for full benefits. Bam, it's crystal clear. Well-named variables and functions, plus simplified logic, make the intent pop without a single line of explanation. It's like cleaning your room instead of taping a messy but functional sign on the door. Solve the problem at its root, and comments can take a hike. All right, let's shine a light on the good stuff: comments that actually earn their keep. Legal comments handle licensing or copyright rules. Informative ones decode non-obvious quirks like data formats. Intent comments spill the why behind a choice. Warnings shout about risks. To-dos flag future tasks. Clarifications unravel obscure bits, and amplifications spotlight sneaky details. These aren't just random notes. They're precision tools for specific jobs, and we'll break them down next. Legal comments are your code's rulebook. Think copyright, licensing, or contract stuff. They're not sexy, but they're mandatory, like wearing a seatbelt. They make sure your code's got its legal bases covered so you don't get sued or sidelined. Simple, but critical. Check this legal comment. A copyright notice from 2025 with a GNU license tag and a file pointer. It's concise, does its job, and keeps the lawyers off your back. No fluff, just the essentials to keep your project legit. Informative comments are your tour guides for the weird and wild parts of code, like explaining a regex that looks like alien scribbles. They give context where the code's too dense or obscure to stand alone, saving you from head-scratching marathons. This informative example ties a regex to a time format like hours, minutes, seconds, day of the week, month, day, year. It's a quick heads-up that turns a mess of backslashes into something human-readable. It's not overbearing, just enough to keep you in the loop. Explanation of intent comments are your why whisperers, perfect when the code's purpose isn't obvious. They peek behind the curtain of a decision, giving you the reasoning that raw logic can't convey, like why a weird sort order matters. In this sorting snippet, returning one ensures custom objects rank higher. The comment explains this isn't random, but a deliberate choice. Without it, you'd guess forever. With it, you nod and move on. Warning comments are your code's caution tape, flagging risks or gotchas that could bite you. They're like a wet floor sign, keeping you from slipping into bugs or crashes if you mess with something fragile. Here's a warning about simple date format not being thread safe. Don't make it static, or you're toast in multi-threaded code. It's a heads up that could save hours of debugging, proving warnings can be MVPs. To-do comments are your dev diary, little notes to future you or your team about what's still cooking. They're not permanent. They're task flags to keep momentum without derailing your flow. This to-do flags a file path tweak in a config loader. It's clear, specific, and screams, "Fix me later." It's a promise, not a crutch, keeping the project on track. Clarification comments tackle the cryptic, like why 86,400 seconds pops up. They're translators for obscure values or params, turning huh into oh, got it, without over-explaining. This clarification ties 86,400 seconds to a day in Unix time. Suddenly, that number's not a mystery, it's a fact. It's short, sweet, and bridges a gap for anyone reading. Amplification comments zoom in on subtle but huge details, like why a threshold's 0.8. They're like a magnifying glass, ensuring you don't gloss over something that could tank your code if tweaked wrong. Here, the 0.8 threshold gets a note linking it to test results and warning about accuracy. Miss that, and your model's toast. It's a quiet shout that keeps the code's intent front and center. Now the dark side, bad comments that haunt us. Mumbling ones are vague as fog, redundant ones parrot the obvious, misleading ones lie through their teeth, mandated ones are forced nonsense, and journal ones track history when Git's right there. It's a rogues gallery. More bad apples. Noise comments babble pointlessly, replaceable ones should be names, position markers are just fluff, closing brace notes are duh, and bylines clog things with ego. Seriously, why? And the worst offenders. Commented out code lingers like a zombie, HTML in code is bizarre, non-local info drifts off topic, too much detail buries you, unclear connections confuse, and function headers overdo it. Nightmare fuel. First, we've got the mumbler, a comment so fuzzy it's useless. This code's loading properties from a file, and if it fails, the comment shrugs. No properties file means all defaults are loaded. But how? Who's on it? When does it kick in? It's a riddle with no answer, forcing you to dig through the code yourself. A good comment would lay out the details, but this one's just hot air, frustrating. Then there's the parrot, repeating what's already loud and clear. Imagine a method waiting for a close condition with a timeout exception. The comment just restates that like a broken record. It's like saying this coffee's hot while it's steaming in your hand. The code's obvious enough, so this redundant fluff's just hogging space. Kick it to the curb. Next up, the trickster, a comment that flat out lies. This one's tied to a method waiting for a close, claiming it returns when this dot closed is true. Sounds snappy, right? Wrong, it waits out a timeout and throws an exception if it's still not closed. That's a wild goose chase waiting to happen, misleading you into expecting a quick exit when it's a slow burn. Deceptive comments like this are why code's the real MVP. Ever run into those forced, robotic comments? Picture a method adding a CD to a list, title, author, tracks, and a comment block drones on like, at param title the title of the CD. No kidding, Sherlock. These mandated notes are style guide zombies, repeating the obvious from the signature. They clog your file and drift out of sync fast, busy work that's more pain than gain. Then there's the historian, comments turning your code into a changelog. Think lines stacking up, added this on 3.15, fixed that on 3/16, piling history right in the file. Why, when Git's got every move tracked? These journal entries are outdated clutter, bloating your code with stuff that version control handles better. Keep it lean and let the tools tell the tale. How about the chatterbox, just noise with no point? This one's a default constructor tagged default constructor. Seriously. It's like labeling your cat, we get it. It adds zilch, no context, no value, just fluff that muddies the waters. Noise like this drowns out the comments that actually matter. Axe it and move on. Ever spot a comment that could just be a better name? Using descriptive names like module dependencies and our subsystem, reveal the intent of the code, eliminating the need for a comment. The idea here's simple. Bad comments like these vanish if you pick descriptive names instead. It's a pro tip. Invest in naming, and you'll slash your comment count without losing a shred of clarity. Then there's the pointless signpost, comments that just mark space. The comment actions, plopped in the middle of the file, why? It's a position marker, adding 0 value. The code structure should guide you, not random flags. These are clutter bombs that annoy more than they assist, especially when the method's short and sweet. Toss 'em and trust your layout. Picture those old-school brace taggers next. You've got a try-catch block where every closing brace gets a try or catch note. Talk about overkill. In a tight block like this, the flow's crystal without the decorations. These are just visual static cluttering the view. Modern IDEs and clean structure make these relics. Save your comments for real insights, not bracket graffiti. Next, we've got the ego flex, attribution comments slapping names everywhere. Imagine written by Jane Doe, 31525, splashed in the code, cute but pointless. Source control tracks who did what and when. Sticking bylines here's just fluff that dates fast. It's a vanity move with no tech juice. As the code evolves, it's a lie waiting to happen. Let Git handle the spotlight. Finally, let's talk about the creepy crawler of bad comments, commented out code that just won't die. Picture this: a snippet setting up a response object with a live line feeding it a stream, followed by a chunk of old code, creating a stream and reader. Left sitting there, grayed out like a ghost. Why's it bad? It's a total head-scratcher for anyone reading it. Do we need this? Is it coming back? Plus, version control's already got the history locked down, so keeping it in the file's just cluttering the joint. It's like leaving junk in your garage instead of tossing it. Delete it and let Git keep the memories. Okay, so how do we clean up this comment chaos? Here's the playbook. Treat comments like technical debt you've gotta pay off. Review and prune them regularly to keep them fresh. Lean on version control for logs, not your code. Focus comments on why not what. Keep them snug with the code they explain. And if they're not pulling their weight, cut them loose. It's about keeping your codebase lean and mean, practical steps to dodge the pitfalls we've just roasted. Let's wrap this wild ride with the big takeaways. Comments are a necessary evil, not a badge of honor. Good code slashes their need by telling its own story. They should spill the why, not what or how, since they can lie as code shifts. Code's the truth teller here. Refactor messy code instead of papering it with notes, and if you must comment, make them sharp and worth it. The vibe. Good code's its own best doc. As you level up, you'll write less fluff and more magic. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if there are other topics you would like me to talk about. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on software engineering and technology. See you next time.